Welcome to the meeting of the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell for Monday, March 28th. I'd like to bring forward Boy Scout Pack 629, Den 11, to lead us in the pledge. Gentlemen, if you'll come forward. Uniforms as well. Face the flag, gentlemen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if this time I could have the Cubs come to the microphone and introduce themselves.
I can't believe I used to be that young and wear that blue uniform.
Arthur, can you say your name?
We may have to move the microphone down.
Arthur Kruger. William Bushy. Chad Beals. Peter Fabrizio. Jonah Dixon. Timothy Reed. Nathaniel Hall.
Nathaniel, before you leave, I got a couple of questions for you. Could you introduce your Scoutmasters who are here with you tonight?
Okay. That is Mr. Chris.
Chris Hall, Nathaniel's father.
And that's Mr. Jeff.
Jeff Kruger.
Good to have you here tonight. Let's have hands for the Cub Scouts. All right, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilmember Wynn. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we will have recognized the Clean and Beautiful Business designation. Who's presenting that tonight? Is that Councilmember Wynn?
If I could, I would love to.
Councilmember Wynn, I will call upon you.
Thank you so much. Since I'm a board member of Keep Roswell Beautiful, thank you for giving me the honors to do this. This is our inaugural Green Business Designation Awards breakfast, and I think Janet needs to come up here Janet, get up here. And we actually awarded how many businesses? 5 or 6?
There was 8 total.
8 total businesses. And Roswell, City of Roswell was one of them because of our sustainability programs and our green, and I'm just very thrilled about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Michael Fisher and Janet Lieberman to show us the award that we've received.
That's right. Thank you, Councilmember Wynn. We did get a award that's up in the lobby over beside the municipal officers area that talks about the pledge that we do as a green business with Keep Roswell Beautiful. I want to thank Janet and her board and the ones that are involved for putting the program together, because there's a large amount of items that you can do for sustainability and be a business and still be a very viable business. There's 3 levels to the award program, a level 1, 2, and 3. The level 3 requires 9 items out of each of the different categories, which could be energy efficiency, water conservation, other initiatives, solid waste. And the City of Roswell was a level 3 recipient of the award. And I made the comment that if you all remember, Janet and the chairman of their board came to a committee meeting a few months ago and unveiled this program while we were all sitting in there and told us about the program. And I can remember that as Janet finished up, the first thing that I remember was Councilmember Wynn just leaning over and looking right at me and saying, "We are going to do this, aren't we?" So, Councilmember Wynn, yes, ma'am, we are, and we have got it. So we're very proud of that. And I want to thank Janet and Keep Roswell Beautiful for what they've done. On the plaque that it has, there's some challenges that we have. I want to read those. The first one is to comply with all applicable regulations and strive to exceed compliance. The second is to conserve energy, water, materials, and other resources. The third is to develop and implement practices that prevent pollution and waste. The fourth is to be an environmentally responsible business within our community. And the last is to strive for continuous improvement in practices that protect our environment. And all 8 of those firms have committed to this, and we intend to continue working with the program as it moves forward.
Would you tell us who the other businesses who have received this designation, or at least what your best memory is?
Eco Solutions.
Yes, so Ecological Solutions, Mulkey Engineering and Consultants,
Waste
Hitch and Webb, City of Roswell, Southern Sprinkler Systems, oh gosh.
Well, let's have a handful
I'm
of those
sorry.
wonderful companies. Thank you, and we are honored to receive that award, and we will hang that award with pride.
That's right.
And just a thing, Mayor, this is a yearly award, so I'm assuming that Roswell will be getting recognition every year, correct?
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
And Councilmember Wynn, as a past recipient of the Green Hair Challenge, winner of the Green Hair Challenge competition, I'm going to allow you to present that also. Because
Thank you so much.
Being a winner.
Yes, well, winner, loser, I don't know, Ricky, were we winners or losers? This is really a great thing. This is our 3rd year of doing this, and I think it's a great way to be able to raise money and get one of our esteemed, one of my esteemed colleagues, not me, to be able
No,
to
you're
wear
in the
green
running
hair.
still. You're still in the
No,
running.
if you've done it once, you're not.
No, that's not in the rules.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Wynn, but that is a false statement.
We'll talk later, Ms. Lieberman, on that one. But this is a great way to raise money for some of our projects that we're doing for Keep Roswell Beautiful. And what's our project this year, Janet? And I'll let you go and discuss more about it.
The funds raised this year will be used to hold a light bulb exchange. We held one 2 years ago that was extraordinarily successful. The demand in the community is still great for that, so we'll be doing that again.
And won't you tell them when does it start and how much does it cost and what happens to the...
Well,
I'm still thinking if it's winners or losers on this thing, so what happens?
This is the 3rd annual Green Hair Challenge. For those who are not familiar with it, who may be new, one elected official and one department director are chosen by their peers, the employees of the City of Roswell, and the residents of the City of Roswell to have the honor of wearing green hair for one full day. In the past 2 years, it has been the elected official and the department director who have received the most votes. This year, in a twist, it will be the elected official and department director who received the least amount of votes this year. So it might really present a challenge for all of you who are part of this. So, Ricky's already said he'll do anything not to be the person in green hair. So I'm thinking just get his checkbook out now. So votes are $1. Voting opens on Friday, April 1st. It will close at midnight, April 21st. Winners are announced April 22nd. Winners will wear green hair Monday, April 25th. During the morning, they'll make the rounds of city buildings, and then that night at the council meeting, they'll be recognized. I want to say that Councilman Jerry Orleans was the recipient of the Green Hair Challenge last year for the elected officials, and former police chief Ed Williams had the honor. So this year, who knows? Who's it going to be? You can vote as many times as you like. Your votes are tax deductible as allowed under the law. All the money goes through Keep Roswell Beautiful, which is a 501c3 organization. And to help those of you that are in the running for this, Community Relations has created a poster that we will have 4 of these. 2 will remain at City Hall, and 2 will be able to be checked out to go to Rotary or Kiwanis or your church or some other organization that you are a part of to help you garner votes. So they will be in my office again. Ben Fry did a fabulous job on this, so really he deserves all the credit for this. So let the games begin on Friday. And on the 25th, we'll see you all back here, and we'll see who's wearing green hair.
Well, I just want to say that being a previous winner, I would love to. I want to share the love with the rest of the council members.
Right back at you, boy. Right back at you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Next item is we have a vacancy on the Rec Commission. I'm bringing forward Thomas Pratt, who's been active in the Lacrosse League and the resident Roswell to fill an open seat. So do we have a nomination for Thomas Pratt?
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve by Councilmember Wynn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by... Second by Councilmember Price. I think I heard that peep over there first. Is any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Next, we have a resolution renewing support for the East Roswell Library. Mr. Davidson, would you read that resolution?
Thank you. This is a resolution renewing support for East Roswell Library and land offer for a library to be located at Holcomb Bridge and Fouts Roads. Whereas on August 19, 2002, and again on July 18, 2005, and December 17, 2007, the Mayor and Council voted to authorize the Mayor to offer approximately 2 acres of parkland at Holcomb Bridge and Fouts Road to the Atlanta-Fulton County Library Board for the purpose of building a library. And whereas the Mayor and Council have determined that a 3-year extension of the deadline for acceptance of such offer is appropriate and in the best interest of the citizens of the City of Roswell, now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell that the offer of approximately 2 acres of parkland to the Atlanta-Fulton County Library Board for the purpose of building a library authorized on August 19, 2002, and July 18, 2005, and December 17, 2007 be hereby extended for a 3-year period until December 31, 2014, under the same stipulations as previously offered. They've approved this to be the reading of the resolution.
This is the property located at the corner of Fouts and Holcomb Bridge Road on the park, currently occupied by the park. There's not currently had any use. The city approved this many years ago as an incentive for Fulton County to bring a library to East Roswell. A couple of years ago, they approved a bond issue was approved by referendum. It's moving at typical government pace. They're going to be holding a meeting. Joe, is it March 30th?
Thursday night, yes.
Thursday night, and where would that meeting be? East Roswell Recreation Center to a community meeting to determine what the community would like to see that building house other than just books. So you're invited to come to that meeting Thursday night. This would be to continue our offer of the land. Do we have a motion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davidson, and just want to confirm, this is just a continuation of what we've done in the past. No changes, and we're just, as Jer was saying, making it available for the slow pace of government.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Just a question.
Yes.
Is this an in-kind offer, or is there a monetary sum attached?
It would be actually a long-term lease. We would not convey the property. It would be a sort of $1 a year lease for as long as they use it as a library. There's not a dollar amount connected to it. It's just a lease of land. And when we haven't designated exactly how much land. It's probably 2 or 3 acres or 3 or 4 acres. And we talked about if the parking on that would be shared, but they haven't gotten to the point of an actual design.
So then, as it's delayed, it's of no financial impact to us, just the citizens not having a library.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Orleans.
Just move for approval.
Motion for approval by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Mr. Davidson, would you read the next resolution? This has to do with the asking the governor to veto the new billboard law, allowing them to cut trees so that the beauty of the billboard will not be blocked by those old ugly trees.
Thank you. This is a resolution requesting the governor veto House Bill 179 as passed by the House and Senate. Whereas House Bill 179 as passed allows billboard owners to clear cut trees within 250 feet of a state right-of-way fence or boundary and or within 350 feet of the pavement edge. And whereas House Bill 179 as passed prohibits any beautification projects that include the planting of trees in the right-of-way that may in the future obscure billboards. And whereas House Bill 179 as passed removes any existing restrictions on the types of trees that billboard companies may remove. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, and it is hereby resolved that the City of Roswell respectfully requests that Governor Nathan Deal veto House Bill 179 as passed for the protection of the citizens of Georgia.
Do we have any questions or comments before I entertain a motion? Councilmember Price.
Is there any direct impact on the city of Roswell from this HB 179 if passed?
We have billboards. The trees aren't currently blocking them, but in time that it might allow them to remove trees in Roswell that might be blocking billboards. Any other questions? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For items like this, I always prefer that they go through the committee process so that we have plenty of transparency and public comment. Is there any sense of urgency for this item?
Yes, sir. I was asked we've just got a few days left in the session, and the leading opponent of this said it was important that we get this to the governor. I don't know what the timing is, but I know that we need to get it to the governor before he makes a decision. He can sign it tomorrow.
So there's really no time to get it to committee for
we could take it to committee, but I can't tell you whether or not it would be in time for the governor to consider.
Right.
And I also think that it's important if we take a stand, it would encourage other cities to take a stand. So I think it's not a matter of it is some it's time sensitive.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Diamond.
Something we can vote on in committee, if, like Wednesday,
No.
we look at it. I guess I'm found out late this afternoon that our North Fulton delegation is split on this, and quite a number of them supported it, and I'd like an opportunity to just talk to them and find out why. I don't see on paper why there would be a reason to vote for it, but clearly there must be some reasoning, and I'd like to hear that before I...
Well, lobbyists could have had something to do with it. In campaign contributions, could have had something to do with it. Councilman Orleans.
I was just curious, who was the major opponent that brought it to your attention?
I was at the Capitol on the ride to the Capitol, and I cannot remember her name. She is a legislator from the city of Atlanta, and she said, could you get a letter to the governor? And I said, well, it would be more effective if it was a resolution of council, so I will bring it to council.
Because I talked to our state senator, and he was opposed to it, and I haven't had a chance to talk to state reps that did vote for it to find out why they voted for it. I would agree that on the surface it doesn't look like it's a positive move, but I'd like to have a chance to talk to him, and again, I think this should come through committee first. And I will be writing an individual letter. I think we should definitely write our own individual letters to it.
Do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
One other question.
Yes.
Do we have a list of who did on a North Fulton delegation? I'm hearing certain people did. Do we have a list of who did approve this, Mr. Mayor?
No, I don't.
Well, I also agree that I think that it's something that we need to maybe have a chance to talk to our legislators about it, but if there's a time-sensitive issue, to look at that.
Do we have a motion?
I'm willing to make the motion, but I also don't want to have a vote that's not unanimous in this issue, because I think to me, there's actually no excuse for voting for it. The things I've heard in the paper are that it was job-related. They feel like it's going to somehow increase the economy. And if this came about based on the economy, that'd be one thing. But the billboard industry has been doing this for years and years and years and years, trying to get this through, and this is just an excuse for them to be able to push it through. So I think we should support it. However, again, I think it's important that we have a unanimous vote. I didn't talk to some of my colleagues until right before the meeting, so I wasn't aware of the concerns. But what if we do have obviously we have a committee meeting on Wednesday morning. Can we, at this point, call a special session just for this?
We can call, if you wish to, you can make a motion for a special call meeting.
I'll do that. I'll move to defer this till Wednesday morning, which is the 30th. Was that right?
Special call meeting, and what time?
At 8 a.m. for this specific issue?
Will have to be after our committee meeting.
Does it have to be after the committee meeting?
We're going to talk about it.
Discuss it.
No,
Well, we would discuss it at that time, but,
Call it at 9 o'clock if you want.
yeah. Well, is everybody going to stay till the end? I guess would be my first question. Yeah, it's going to be a long meeting, so can we call a special called meeting at 8:30 and make this the first committee discussion item, and then whatever we get to at 8:30?
I think the rules of the city would allow us to call a special call meeting at 8:30 Wednesday morning.
And I'll make that motion, and perhaps it's appropriate to discuss at that time, too, what makes sense to go through the committee, what's not. I think the mayor's correct that while technically we have till about April 15th that it'll probably take before the session's over, the governor could sign it at any time, and there are others working on trying to get support as well. So I think we should be a leader in this area. But again, I don't want to make a motion that's not going to pass unanimously at this point. So that's my motion to defer to Wednesday at 9:30.
We have a motion to have a special call meeting.
I just said 8:30. 9:30. I meant 8:30.
We have a motion by Councilman Eichelhart to hold a special call meeting at 8:30 Wednesday to discuss the resolution requesting the governor to veto the billboard bill. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. All in favor raise their hands. Passes. Councilman Orleans, are you voting? That's unanimous. And that brings us to community development. Councilmember Betty Price.
The first and only item this evening is approval of the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Citizen Participation Plan, or CPP. Alice Wakefield will give us the details.
Okay. This is one of the necessary steps that we have to take as we move forward bringing the CDBG program in-house. The Citizen Participation Program is required by the Department of Housing and Community Development. It's required to set forth the city's policies and procedures for attaining citizen input, participation, and comments on the CDBG block grant program. With the approval of the citizen participation plan, we will then move forward with preparing the consolidated plan.
Any questions? Councilmember Price.
Just one. I noticed that on the summary page it says no comments have been received for the 15 days.
I'm sorry. Let me go back to that. At the March 2nd committee meeting, this was approved to post on the website and to distribute to the various housing agency for comments. HUD requires a 15-day waiting period for comments. We have not received any comments today.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Councilmember Price.
Now, possibly not having gotten any comments means nobody's concerned, or possibly it means that they didn't, as in other matters, perhaps know that there was an opportunity to make a comment. And I'm just curious, because I looked on the website and I couldn't find an opportunity to either be notified of that or comment on that. And I know sometimes it's hard to navigate the site, but it also concerns me that in general that the website doesn't parallel or track the same kinds of things that are advertised in the newspaper. I just wonder if that's something that we could address at some point. Or where could one find that on the website?
Well, it's on our this community development landing page, and if you go to economic development, you'll find all of the community development related activity. We also have a dedicated email for community development. The thing with the citizen participation program is just basically mirrors what is required by HUD, that says that whenever we bring forward these various plans that have to be brought forward, we will abide by their requirements, such as having a 30-day review period for the consolidated plan. We will make it available to the Roswell Housing Authority, the copy of it, and the library, and we'll post it on the website. But we will check out the website and make sure that it's easily accessible.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm being specific to this issue or just in general, that, you know, if someone were wondering what's happening, you know, in Roswell, if there's anything critical or burning or, you know, needing some response as a citizen, that maybe our website doesn't attract people to those issues. And it's just a general comment. So despite that little rant, move to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call upon Councilmember Rich DiPolito, liaison to the Transportation Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item on the transportation agenda is approval to submit projects to be considered for funding by the Transportation Investment Act of 2010, also known as HB 277. And you'll recognize all of these projects because they were part of the North Fulton Comprehensive Transportation Plan that we had previously approved, and they're good projects to include in this because they have essentially been approved by all of North Fulton. So there's wide support by our community and the surrounding community to have these projects completed, and we believe they are good projects to be eligible for the submission. Mr. Asenbrag.
Thank you, Councilman DiPolito. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Councilman DiPolito just said exactly what you needed to know. All I would like to do is just take just a few short minutes of your time and make sure that you're aware of sort of some of the mechanics that are going on. As Councilman DiPolito mentioned, we are submitting these projects for the unconstrained list. In other words, these projects are going to be bundled up with all of the other governments in the 10-county area, and they're going to be considered for the funding under this Transportation Investment Act of 2010. Just for your information, as you know, we've covered this ground many times in all of the meetings and the public forums and those sorts of things. In the in the North Fulton Comprehensive Transportation Plan, we identified the City of Roswell had 6 projects in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 were the projects that were likely to be funded through the typical TIP ARC process, and Tier 2 are those projects that were still valid candidates but were looking for a funding source like this SPLOST. I'm going to show you, this is what the actual form looks like, and it goes through a variety of different areas. It talks about the program area, the project purpose. It's not really important that you understand this. I just want you to know that the staff has gone through this, filled out each of these forms. There's 2 pages. One talks about the form, and the other in the back has a little bit about the financial data. And we will be submitting a 2-page form like this for every project. If you'll give me just a second, I'd like to just review the 6 projects with you. I have a graphic showing the area, and that looks really dark up here. Does that come across your screens okay? Okay. This first project is the Historic Gateway. As you know, we know it sometimes affectionately as the removal of the reversible lanes. This is an $18 million project. It has 3 core parts to it: the removal of the reversible lanes, an intersection improvement at State Route 9 and Azalea Riverside, and the bridge replacement at Big Creek Bridge. Project also includes new and improved sidewalk connections, landscaping, and improved vegetation and pedestrian scale lighting. The second project is our Big Creek Bridge, Phase 1. for $29 million. This is a new roadway connection between Holcomb Woods Parkway and Old Alabama Road over State Route 400 to Old Holcomb Bridge near the Aspen Point Apartments. The corridor will include 2 11-foot travel lanes, 2 4-foot bicycle lanes, a 10-foot multi-use trail on one side, and a 5-foot sidewalk on the other. Project includes a connection to Big Creek Park. The bridge over 400 will be designed to be a gateway to the city.
Grayson Brown?
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason we aren't including Phase 2 in this as well?
We considered that as a future phase.
Would that be in the Tier 3 project?
Yes.
Okay. But would it not be appropriate to include it as part of this submittal?
I'm sorry. All right, Chris.
Let me jump up. The reason why we really didn't submit Tier 2 along with Tier 1 was because, number one...
Tier 3.
Oh, Tier 3 projects? Okay. Phase 2 is in Tier 2. The whole project 1 and 2 that we studied as part of the Big Creek Bridge study was one project that went together. The two pieces combined were $50 million with construction and design and what have you. And we felt like, considering the pushback that we got from the community west of this area when we were getting over towards Warsaw, and the unsolved issues along Warsaw that the community brought to our attention when we were moving forward towards looking at the final conclusions, we chose just to stick with Phase 1 at this time. Phases 3 and 4 were not included at all just because we never studied those and we weren't ready to move forward with any type of implementation at this point. Tier 3 projects, as part of the North Fulton CTP, remember, those were the projects that we weren't really quite comfortable yet saying that we would like to see those. For example, if you recall, we talked about the river crossings as being one, and we suggested with our partners in Sandy Springs that potentially a PED crossing in the Riverside Eaves area may be something to look at in the future, but we weren't ready to go forward with implementation on that. So the Tier 3 of North Fulton CTP were not even included at all.
For a clarification, was this continuation of this west, was that Tier 2?
Yes.
Yes.
But it's not included in
But
this.
it's not included.
So we did not include it as part of this.
All right, so...
Well, my suggestion is, why don't we let Steve finish his presentation? I'd like to circle back to this and have a discussion about it, because we may want to add that.
All right.
Phase 2.
I'm going to go ahead then. Then I'll come back to this one.
Wait a minute, we have some questions here.
Yes, sir.
No, I'm just going to kind of support Rich's thoughts on this. I understand there may be concerns for it, but this is an opportunity to go for the funding. And at Phase 2 of the North Bridge, Big Creek Bridge, I guess you want to come back to it, but I think we should include it from
You
the
want
funding.
to
We can
do the
always,
whole enchilada?
we can always back down or adjust it or even give it up, but if it's not in there.
This can be a lengthy discussion. Let's cover the whole thing, and then we'll come back for this discussion, because I see a lot of folks want to talk. And I agree with Rich. Let's get everything on the table, and then we'll go back and discuss this and any other projects that are questionable.
All right, that was project number 2 of 6. Here is project 3. And this is the Howes Road operational improvements, estimated to be $19,600,000. The operational upgrades along Howes Road from Rucker Road to Mansell Road, including intersection improvements, additional turn lanes, potentially and a drainage swale median in the center of the roadway to provide a parkway feel for the corridor. In addition, either sidewalk or trail connections will be added to accommodate bicyclists and pedestrians. This project is the one that was partnered along Arnold Mill Road, where Arnold Mill widening was going to be submitted by the City of Milton, and then the Rucker Road operation, similar Rucker Road operational improvements would be submitted by the City of Alpharetta.
Just a question.
Yes,
this
sir.
4 lanes or 2 lanes?
3 lanes.
It's 3 lanes?
Yes, sir. Well, that's why I'm calling it 3 lanes. Basically, it'll have potential for the center turn lane down the middle.
There'll be turn lanes, but it's 2 lane with
one operational
either way and
in
turn
each
lanes
direction. That's correct.
Where appropriate.
Travel lane is what I meant to say.
It wouldn't be a 3 lane road. We don't need those reversible.
No. I didn't. I meant
it's a 2 lane road.
It's a 2 lane road. Yes, sir. It'll just have the improvements of having these left turns and right turns and those sorts of things that we don't currently have.
Just a clarification. Thank you.
Okay, I'll move on. The next project is number 4. Councilman DiPolito's favorite project. This is Georgia State Route 400, US 19 at State Route 140, which we know is Holcomb Bridge Road, operational improvements for $50 million. Upgrades to the interchange at State Route 400 and Holcomb Bridge Road, State Route 140, as defined in the upcoming Holcomb Bridge Road corridor study. Potential projects could include an additional slip ramp from State Route 400 northbound to Market Boulevard, ramp reconfigurations, diverging diamond interchange modifications, new and or lengthened turn lanes, improvements along Holcomb Bridge Road between State Route 400 and Old Alabama Road and State Route 400 and Dogwood Road, and aesthetic treatments such as pedestrian scale lighting, decorative fencing, parapet facades, landscaping, and other things. And what this is basically just a shaded area of the entire interchange between 400 and Holcomb Bridge Road, if that doesn't come up well on your graphic.
What amount did you say that was, Steve?
$50 million is what we budgeted, or is what we've asked for. Project number 5 is one of Joe Glover's favorite projects. And this is finally the Big Creek to the river connection. And we've budgeted $6 million for this. It connects a multi-use trail between Big Creek Park and Riverwalk Park, including a grade-separated bridge over Holcomb Bridge Road at or near Market Boulevard. The exact alignment will be determined, however, once the trail is expected to provide access for bicyclists and pedestrians to safely travel between Big Creek Park and the river while avoiding the intersections of Old Alabama and Holcomb Bridge Road. Amenities along the trail could include rest areas, covered pavilions, furniture, scaled lighting, and things of that nature. And finally, we have another trail project. We call this the North Fulton Trail Connection, again budgeted for $6 million, which upgrades the existing Riverwalk Trail network and adds new 10-foot trails to Riverside Road, Eves Road, and Holcomb Bridge Road to make a continuous trail connection from Cobb County to Gwinnett County, providing access to the county's respective trail networks. Eventually, this trail could connect to the Silver Comet Trail and or the Atlanta Beltline. In addition, this would allow segments of the Rodwell Loop to connect to a regional trail network. So that is a summary of the 6 projects that we're going to put on these forms and submit them to ARC pending your approval.
Yes. Before we go, let's sort of get the ground rules on how we're going to approach this, because I got a lot of hands up.
Okay.
What I'd like to do is go project by project.
All right.
And get the council either we're in or we're out on that project, and we'll discuss one project at a time. Is that acceptable to the council? All right. Now,
I have a general question.
General question. Yes, sir.
Well, overall, so the total that we're asking for is how much, and how much are we projected that we think we would receive if a bond passed?
I'd have to add all these up real quick, but it's going to be 70, 110, 130, 140 million in generally, and the chances are we'll get one.
Okay.
One of because you have to realize that there are almost 100 governments in the 10-county region, and we're all competing against each other, and that's going to make it interesting.
Just another comment. North Fulton has approached this as a group. As you recall, ARC funded a master transportation plan for North Fulton County. We developed Tier 1, 2, and 3 projects. So we were well positioned to submit our projects, and the cities at the North Fulton Municipal Association, the mayors are all supporting the Tier 1 and 2 projects.
Yes, sir.
In essence, saying let's just go with Tier 1 and Tier 2. That makes it so they're all regional. They were all considered projects of regional significance, and we didn't want to sort of reach down to Tier 3 and get other projects. We wanted to try to present a united front, and so I would like the council try to focus on these projects and try to keep solidarity with the other North Fulton cities, because I think we as a group, if we all together we have a much better chance of getting a success. So we're going to entertain questions on project number 1, which is?
This was the Historic Gateway, Mayor.
Historic Gateway. Is this Historic Gateway?
Well, this is prior to which project which. Is there a significance to the order of these? And do we, I mean, do they not want us to see our priority when we turn it in?
We are submitting them as part of a collection of projects. And what will happen is once they've moved through the GDOT filtering process to eligibility and making sure they'll go forward, they will move to the round table, the regional round table, at which time then they will be prioritized. And that's when we would have input to that process and saying, this is our number 1, our number 2, our number 3. We are not really prepared to say, I mean, if I personally had to put my thoughts out there, Historic Gateway would be the top of the list, because that's really where we're much further along on a project where the other projects we haven't really scraped the surface on those yet, so to speak. So we're going to have input into the regional roundtable process, but not until after they've had a chance to get the unconstrained list from GDOT at this
You
point.
don't assume they would draw any conclusion from the order we hand them the list?
I have not seen any evidence to such, but we could easily, as part of our attached letter that says we are submitting these projects, I could easily write a small paragraph or put some bullets on there that specifically state we think Historic Gateway is number 1, or whatever the council and mayor chooses to, it would be the number 1 project, and we can put that as part of our work.
These are actually going to be presented as North Fulton. We're going to be supporting. What we really need to get from this council is, do we support
Project.
No, not just these projects, but the projects from the other cities, because our position has been we as a city are supporting tier 1 and 2 tier projects. These are our specific projects. But if we want Alpharetta support, we want Milton support, we want Sandy Springs support, we need to be supporting their tier 1 and tier 2 projects. Now, what actually filters down, there's a whole lot more politics before we get there, but this is an unconstrained list. The approach was, we have a plan. Let's all go in together with a common plan. And there hasn't been. I will tell you which project Eve is going to support first. I'm certain, but we're not to that point yet. We're going to try to say, let's just get a list in. So I'm going to ask y'all at the end of this to support their tier 1 and tier 2 projects. But I wanted to make sure. The goal here is not what should be going in. Is there something that should come out? Or is there something in the one case, is there something that's already in tier 2 that we took out we need to add back in? General questions. Is this a general question?
I'm waiting, more or less answered it.
We have any general questions?
Yes.
General questions.
Steve.
Sir.
Okay. Back to Kent's question. Do we know, based on the estimates for the sales tax revenue, what would end up coming into North Fulton County for the projects, for all the projects?
Councilman, first I will tell you is it 15% that we get to designate?
That's right. Yes, sir.
Based upon population?
Correct.
So there will be a certain percentage, if it passes, which we will have total control over, and do we know what that is? The rest of it you will not know, because it's all a matter of horse trading and it's not allocated by territory. It's by negotiation.
Well, if we're approaching it, number one, what the 15% would be worth would be a good question. But if we're approaching it as all of North Fulton, in the total pie of the 10 counties or however many counties we're putting into this, and their estimated revenue, what would be the potential revenue that could come back to North Fulton?
Population split. If you're saying what would North Fulton get if it got its proportionate population share?
Right. What would that estimate be?
Do we know?
It's really hard to put down your thumb on a specific number. I mean, you're talking about $750 to $800 million total for the entire region.
Right.
If you did it as a rule of thumb versus what the RTP and the TIP do through ARC, I mean, we get about, I think the estimated cost was in the neighborhood of $350 million that was programmed to projects that would service North Fulton, but that includes MARTA and things on 400 and what have you. So it's not necessarily the cities that will be receiving that much funding. I'll be honest with you, Councilman, there's no way I can really tell you that we would or would not get 15, 25. It's just too hard to put a number on there.
Well, I understand that it's all revenue estimates, and I understand there's nothing accurate, but I would love to have you guys kind of put some research into that and come back with what the figures. because, there's several concerns about this whole process. Number one, the discrepancy on the MARTA part of it.
Sure.
Number two, another sales tax. I've always been in favor of the legislators finally having the guts to take care of our gas tax and getting that straight. So some of this is information we didn't know whether we're going to end up supporting this all the way down for a vote or we're not going to support it. So that's what I'm starting to think of and would like to get that kind of feedback from you.
All right. Well,
Thank you.
Let me see if just so they know specifically, are you looking for saying what is the estimated revenue that would be raised by 1 penny over the life of this? And if we received a population share, what would our share be? Is that your question?
Correct. And it doesn't have to be over the life of it. Maybe they could estimate the next 5 years, since going out further might be a little more difficult, or the next 10 years.
Well, they've got estimates for
what share.
We have sales tax estimates for the 10-year life of the program.
Okay.
But in terms of a proportional share to North Fulton, that's where we would have to figure our per capita amount.
Right.
And factor it that way.
Based upon the census.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get down.
If we got a per capita share, what would our share be for the 15%? And if we got a per capita share of the bigger projects, what would Roswell's share be?
Right. Just trying to get a feel for what this may or may not be worth to the city of Roswell and our constituents, and whether we're going to support this whole thing for a vote or not.
At this point, it's just submission of projects to the
Right.
plan, to the program. At the end of the day, it's still going to come back to the city or our agent through GDOT, Greta, ARC, whoever it is, to help us implement those projects. So we have plenty of time between now and turning dirt that we could withdraw or say no, or and then of course, like you had mentioned a minute ago, the MARTA issue is still out there,
Right.
the extra sales tax is still out there. So there's a lot of unanswered questions that are still floating around.
Right. And if, we're trying to get the minimum of $18 million for a main project and up to $100 million for all projects or whatever. But our estimates say this is only going to return a potential of $10 million to the city of Roswell. Just want to know where that's at.
That's possible.
Thank you. Other general questions? General questions? All right. I'm going to ask the floor if there are any general questions, and then we'll... Councilmember Price, you have a general question.
It's a very general question. What form does this take when it comes to the ballot in July of 2012?
I am not sure.
That hasn't been described.
I don't think we've even...
The supposition would be that it would be, do you support a 1-cent sales tax for the funding of transportation, like a typical worded ordinance or something that would be put on a ballot, but there's been no documentation whatsoever as to how it would be worded, if the projects would or would not be included. The sales tax revenue generator, the estimates in that, there's been no documentation from GDOT about how that would be handled.
Ms. Love advised me the actual ballot question has not been specified. We don't know what the ballot question would be.
But for instance, would the question on Roswell's ballot be different than the question?
No, it would be one question for the 10-county area.
This is a state issue, so it would be part of the state's ballot.
Okay, thank you.
Other general questions? All right. What's their first project? We'll enter comments on the first project.
This was the Historic Gateway project, Mayor. And again, this was just the first one I showed you. I didn't have any particular list. If you'd like to add this
we're just going to go in the order you presented them. Do we
Historic Gateway.
Start with any questions about the Historic Gateway project? The second one is, do we have a motion to include the Historic Gateway project?
So moved.
Motion by Price, second by Orleans. Further discussion? Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about including the Historic Gateway project? All in favor of including the Historic Gateway project? Unanimous.
Thank you. And the next project was the Big Creek Bridge. We said phase 1. If you'd like us to change it for both phases, 1 and 2, we could do that.
Do we have a motion?
Move to.
I'm going to recognize Councilmember DiPolito.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you a question about it. Is Phase 2 a Tier 2 project?
It is.
It is. Would it make more sense for us to split these up and have 7 projects, or would it be better to combine them?
Phase 2 doesn't really stand on its own. I mean, Phase 2 really anticipates Phase 1 is the bridge is included in Phase 1. So I think
So you couldn't have phase 2 without...
I would just worry that somehow in the roundtable discussion, somebody says remember
too,
that could be the bridge to nowhere.
Remember too that we're talking about regional investments, and while it's not a regional road, and we're making sure to keep it very local, it's a local connection. The bridge provides an alternate to the regional road in the form of Holcomb Bridge. We felt like Phase 2 doesn't do that. It becomes a local street, and local street would not favor as well on its own, and that's why we chose not to submit that one.
But I think in reality, the use of the bridge will be significantly increased by having Phase 2 completed.
We agree with that.
We can absolutely add it.
But I think some of my other council members...
We're entertaining questions right now. Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councilman DiPolito, because when I was transportation liaison, this is one of my projects. And even though Phase 2, like I say, cannot stand by its own, I think that is really an integral part of the whole thing, because if we're looking at bringing redevelopment to this northwest quadrant, I think Phase 2 is going to be very, very critical on that redevelopment. And again, we can ask for it. It doesn't mean that we're going to get it. But again, we just saw how slow government moves when we did that resolution for the library. So all of the questions I think that people have that live on Warsaw, we can be able to address those before we even look at, even extending this. But I think we need to add Phase 2. If we're going to ask for it, let's ask for both phases, not just Phase 1, because I'm afraid if we get Phase 1, it's going to be a dog trying to get Phase 2. So I would rather ask for both of the
We
phases
will
at the
modify
same time.
the sheet.
Wait a minute, not yet. We don't have a motion.
All right.
You're jumping ahead of yourself.
Sorry.
Other questions? Councilmember Eichelhardt.
This may end up being general, but is the amount that you're talking about, or whatever that happens to be, $750 million, whatever that is that the entire amount expected during the life of the 1 cent? So this would be the one time that we would get to ask for money, no matter what these projects are, and whatever the mix is. Are we going to get a chance in 5 years to come back and say, well, now we'd like this, or is this it?
There's not been any type of discussion yet by GDOT about how, hypothetically, let's just say they come up with 10 projects. Those 10 projects have to be built within the 10-year window of the tax. Let's just say hypothetically that project number 4 on that list runs right through the Chattahoochee River, and there's no way that they're ever going to be able to build it. There's been nothing set up yet that says, how do we extract project 4 and punch in alternate 1? They haven't told us how that situation works. So as of today, I can advise you that the list that goes to the voter list is the list that we're going to have for this 10-year window, regardless of what the projects do. Now, GDOT may come back with some guidance about how they're going to do amendments or substitutions or anything like that, but I have not seen that. So it's uncertain as to how that would be played out, because ultimately, when you're talking about the number of projects that we're talking about at a regional level, potentially 1,000 or more projects that could come out of this process, how do you deal with when you run into a rock-faced wall or a river or a historic land or something like that? That hasn't been played out yet.
And okay, so that's a good answer. And then the other part, we always discuss this anytime we come up with these lists, is that we're not going to get them all. We'll get maybe one. So that's what we've talked about, I think, kind of here, whether there's a priority, and that comes later. And frankly, like you've said, I agree with you that the historic gateway would be the top priority. And so, frankly, I think we may be talking about something that doesn't matter that much ultimately. That, are we going to really get $50 million, or if we were going to get 15 to 20, I'd prefer we put it on the other. That's the decision later. But my concern, and it could be true, that over time we'll figure this out and everybody will be happy. But there's so many ifs on Phase 2 and so many people who are not in favor of it. I have a real concern about putting that in at this point. So I would tend to go against that.
Councilman Orleans, is that a question?
Yes. Trying to look at this a little closer from earlier conversation. If throwing out the figure of $350 million is total for all of North Fulton, including things on 400, and we've got $130 million of projects here, there's no way we're going to get a third of what's left over after they deal with 400. So I guess I'm going back to the original point that you guys are bringing up, is Highway 9, the Gateway is first priority, and if we can get this bridge as second priority, I mean, that's $50 million right there, and I don't see us getting anything above that. So as Kent was saying, I think it's almost academic on our discussion here. You know, if they're not going to give us $50 million, to throw in a $6 million trail project or something like that. So if this thing goes through, you know, that's what it may come down being worth it to the city of Roswell is one project. So
That's obviously a potential.
kind of brings in perspective of the whole vote for this 1% sales tax again. So thank you.
Well, I think one thing you need to consider is they're not going to turn to Roswell to say, what is your project? It's a regional decision, and they may say one project has more regional significance than another. So again, unfortunately, it's not totally within our control.
Right, which means
it's very little is within our control.
Which means we may not even get the one project we're
may not even get
We
one
may not
project.
get anything. That's
Exactly.
I'm thinking we'll get them all. Other questions?
Sure.
Councilmember Price.
You've never been out in left field before, obviously.
As if we're going to prioritize them, I think it'd be helpful to have the individual price tags, just so we can either decide that we go for the big one, or we, go for a couple small ones, or whatever.
Phase 1, what's shown on here was $29 million. And do you remember what Phase 2 was?
Phase 2 was, I want to say it's in the mid-20s, like 21 to 23 million. It was a slightly smaller because we didn't have as much structure on the bridge, so it was a little bit smaller.
And the other, 5 projects?
Historic Gateway was $18 million.
Mm-hmm.
Howes Road improvements was $19,600. The state route at 400 at Holcomb Bridge Road was $50 million. Big Creek to the river connection was $6 million, and then the other Fulton County Trail connection was also $6 million.
Thank you.
Just to make a point, some of these are in Tier 1. And which ones of these are in Tier 1?
The Gateway, the number 1. Creek Bridge. Right, the first 3.
Well, the point being is that we believe, even if the 1 cent sales tax does not pass, that there is potentially funding for all the Tier 1 projects. So if you only approved Tier 1 and you didn't put any Tier 2 in, you would be almost assured of not getting any of that 1 penny. So remember that it's not just the 1 penny that you're looking at. It's DOT is looking at funding for all these projects.
I think that's a very valid point to bring up. I mean, the Historic Gateway project, we were very successful in getting that programmed in the draft regional documents for their new update of the regional transportation plan. So we will have future federal money associated with that project when they adopt that plan in July. The challenge there is going to be to find the match for that federal money when the time comes to implement it. If it's funded with TIA funds, then it takes the federal process of that having to make the match out of the equation. It's a straight tax, and it just like a local fund, essentially paying those monies, and it frees up that $18 million of federal aid to go to other projects in the region, which could potentially be any of the other 5 that we're discussing here. So it's a very valid point to make. The sales tax wins because it frees up federal money. Of course, we have challenges in Fulton and DeKalb County and Atlanta to deal with that. So that's the offset that we're having to talk through.
Anyway, they're recommending that we approve our Tier 1 and Tier 2. If we want the project, put it in there. If you don't want the project, don't put it in there. But don't exclude it because you think you're setting priorities. They're recommending get all your projects in and then let it sort out later. Other questions about the Historic Gateway project?
Big Creek?
The North Bridge. Big Creek North Bridge. Any questions about the Big Creek North Bridge? Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion. And I also had a general comment. I think it is important to ask for all of these because I can guarantee you one thing, if we don't ask for it, we're not going to get it. So, if we ask for it, we have at least a chance.
We've got a fighting chance. Right.
But as far as the Big Creek Parkway, To me, it really makes the most sense to have both phases, and I'm much less excited about it when we only have the phase one. I don't see quite the value in it, so I would like to propose, even though we don't have the phase two completely designed, and I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of concern by the community about where that's going to be located, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve phase one and phase two.
We have a motion to include phase one and phase two in our request for the Transportation Investment Act by Councilman DiPolito. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilmember Wynn. Is there anyone in the audience with questions or comments? All right, further discussion. I know Councilman Eichelhardt has some words to say.
Just going to say that I'm going to vote against it, but not because I oppose phase one, but because I oppose phase two at this point. So it's an overall.
Any other comments before we take a vote? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. That's Councilmember Orleans, Councilmember Wynn, Councilmember DiPolito, Councilmember Diamond. All opposed? Councilmember Price, Councilmember Eichelhardt. Passes 4-2. Next project.
Yes, sir. The next project is House Road operational improvements for $19,600,000.
We're not there yet. Are we there yet?
House Road, it was number 3. That's what I briefed you. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, this was the one that basically is the operational improvements along House Road in conjunction with what Alpharetta and Milton are doing. $19,600,000.
Any questions? Councilmember DiPolito.
Mr. Asenbrack, on Arnold Mill and Rucker Road, are they also doing 2 lanes with center turn lanes?
Rucker Road splits it off to the
So it'll be a center grass median with occasional turn lanes on
Yes,
Rucker.
sir. Right.
And what happens on Arnold Mill?
Arnold Mill they envisioned for 4 lanes going to Cherokee County, including a bridge over the river.
And Milton is submitting that?
Yes, sir.
The city of Milton?
The city of Milton.
Okay.
Very ambitious.
And what's hardscrabble going to be, Steve? What's a projection for that? 4 lanes, 2 lanes? What is?
We are not going to widen hardscrabble to 4 lanes. We're going to do.
I thought Alpharetta was doing something on their end. No.
They're doing Rucker. They're doing Rucker to
That's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Rucker. Yeah.
Rucker. We kind of shared the pain on this one, which is they're going to make some slight improvements to their corridor, and we're going to make some slight improvements. The idea being that the Cherokee County traffic would then be able to choose a split. They could go to exits 10 or 9 or 7 or 8. I mean, however they wanted to go through Roswell or Alpharetta.
Other questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Council DiPolito for approval. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about the House Road improvements? Further discussion by council. All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The next project is Georgia 400 at Holcomb Bridge Road. This was the biggie. This was $50 million. And this was the whole enchilada. This is basically all the improvements around that intersection, both short and long term, whatever the corridor study comes up with. This would fund those projects.
Councilmember DiPolito.
Mr. Asenbrack, does the $50 million include a diverging diamond interchange?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if that doesn't occur, if there is a cloverleaf, something like that, that number could be higher than $50 million potentially.
Well, we're hoping not. We're hoping that within the right-of-way and all those changes, that $50 million will be more than enough to make all those changes.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Do we have a
one
motion?
or the other.
Do we have a motion?
Don't get both.
Councilmember Price. Motion by Councilmember Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments regarding the Holcomb Bridge 400 addition to the Transportation Investment Act list? Further discussion by council. Is that a hand up, Ms. Price?
It is.
Question.
I'm just want to make a statement that I'm just sorry that's not in Tier 1.
All right. Any other questions, statements, or discussion? All in favor of the, yes, Councilmember DiPolito.
I just wanted to make a comment on this. I think this is a tremendous opportunity for Roswell, and I think the fact that our transportation department has taken a look at putting together a diverging diamond interchange as an option, I know still being studied, is brilliant. And I know you all were thinking about that even before it kind of became the hip thing to do. So we appreciate you going through the effort and really looking outside the box and trying to come up with some good solutions. But really looking forward to seeing what we're going to see come out of this study. I think it's going to be exciting for Roswell.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The next project, the next to the last project, is the trail connection. The miracle across Holcomb Bridge that connects the Big Creek Greenway with the river. This was $6 million. And this is still up in the air about the final alignment.
Just to comment, some of these pedestrian improvements may not have the same mobility as these bigger projects, but they're going to be putting. It sounds like from the discussion they're going to be putting a percentage toward pedestrian projects. So they're really not competing head to head with the road projects. They're competing with other transportation projects. On this project, I do strongly support a connection between the Big Creek Greenway and the Riverwalk, although I'm not confident that this is the best connection. There's a lot of discussion about whether. So would we be stuck with this specific alignment, or could we just...
No, sir. It's just the concept.
It's a concept
Yes,
of
sir.
connecting the Greenway. Well, then I can support it. Other questions? Councilmember Price.
Is the bulk of the monies required for this right-of-way or actual construction design? What?
Probably in this case it'd be the bridge. Because we've already been in contact with, for instance, Kimberly Clark, who is already interested in giving us part of their land as a potential for the alignment north of Holcomb Bridge. Right. So this is really a bridge project. This is a pedestrian bridge. Could be a nice gateway going across the.
And a lot depends upon how we design this intersection,
Yes,
how
sir.
we design whether we get the Big Creek Bridge. This is just a concept, and it has to relate to other. We've got two other huge improvements.
Well, we just talked about the improvements to the entire intersection. Obviously, if we're doing a diverging diamond and we're bulging out before we make that cross, that's going to affect a lot of things with this bridge. So there's a lot of different things
so
going on.
this is just a concept. It's the concept of connecting the two. Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad that you asked that question, because I'm assuming north of Old Alabama, by Old Alabama, you're looking at connecting to the Big Creek Bridge also. Is that part
yes,
of this
ma'am.
project?
Sure.
So you will be showing GDOT or the roundtable that we're actually looking at integrating a lot of our Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects
That's a very
together.
good point. Yes.
I think that would help, because then it says, look, if we can do the bridge, then we can also
It's a
do
package
this.
deal. We need them all.
It's a package deal, right? And you're looking at the bridge over to also do maybe one that might go under, like a tunnel under Holcomb Bridge instead of going over.
Another option.
That's another option that y'all would look at.
Think of this as a concept
Connection.
to connect the trails.
Well,
across Holcomb Bridge.
I would like for you to show the Big Creek Bridge on this so they can see that we are connecting.
Sure. We will do
I
that.
can't see on here if it is or not. Is that on there?
It is not, but we can
Proposed.
show where the potential alignment is and how it interacts with each other. Sure.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Motion for approval by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about this trail connection? Further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you. And the final project was a trail connection. Consider this the north-south spine. This is the east-west spine, which basically continues connection of trail systems between Cobb County to our west and Gwinnett County to our east, all of the systems on both of those counties, and then also the connections that we already have in Roswell, both planned and in place for the loop, so that all the loop will tie into this entire backbone along the river.
Any questions? Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember DiPolito, second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Passes unanimously. Although it's not on the agenda, I need to know from the council where they support Tier 1 and Tier 2 projects of Sandy Springs, Milton, Alpharetta, and Johns Creek, and I don't think Mountain Park has any Tier 1 or Tier 2 projects. But if, in the interest of solidarity, it would be important to know if y'all can, and I know we don't have the presentation of all of those. They're all outside of the boundary of Roswell, but this council has seen them before and, in essence, approved them before, but not for approval not in this context. So is there any discussion about it or questions about that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Councilmember Wynn.
Yeah, I sat on the Transportation Committee, and I think it would be good for all of the sister cities to really unite on this, because I think if we unite and show them that we are actually looking at regional and looking at each other's backs, I think that's what's very, very important. So I would, if it's a resolution or however you want to do it, Mr. Mayor, I think that we should show our support for our sister cities and their Tier 1, Tier 2 projects.
I just need a motion to support the other North Fulton motion to support the other North Fulton cities Tier 1, 2, and Tier 2 projects inclusion into the Transportation Investment Act list. We have a motion by Wynn, a second by DiPolito. Further discussion by council. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Okay.
Question?
Thank you.
Yes.
Just going back to the 6 projects, did we, by the order that we took them, identify those as priorities?
No. No, we didn't. We're not ordering them by priority. We can discuss that later if it comes into play. Right now, we're just saying this is the list of projects we'd like to see included. And a little more background. At the initial round, at the initial level of discussion, we were being represented by the team of Bodker and Mayor Moore, Union City, right. And they are to, in coming up their list, they had specific instructions to make sure that we meet with all the mayors before we come forward. So we've got a good team representing us, North Fulton County, in this negotiation. And they'll be coming forward with these lists. All right.
Thank you.
Moving along, well, we appear to be at adjournment. We have a work session following this in room 220 to discuss budget.